Hello, and welcome back to Writing with Witches, where a couple of witches sit around and talk about writing. And this time we're talking about world building.
Yes.
And this is actually the start of a little mini series, which we're excited about because it's the first mini series of the year. Um, and we are going to be focusing on the physical landscape of your fantasy world that you're writing. So, before we jump all into that, though, my name is Leona Urbanski. I'm one of the co-hosts. I'm a debut author with my book coming out in April of this year.
I'm so
And my
excited.
co-host is
I am Nicole Autumn. I am the author of the Secret Society series. That is now completely finished.
so happy.
I know. I am so happy to be just... It sounds bad to say I'm just happy to be done with it, but it's more so I'm just happy that I was able to complete a full series.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. It just sounds bad when I'm like, I'm just done. I'm so glad it's done. Like it was bad. Oh, I'm over it.
Totally over it. No.
Totally over it.
I mean, it's not like you're leaving that world entirely. So
No, I'm not. And like I've mentioned before, there's always a possibility we could come back to the characters. I don't know.
yeah. You always left that open.
Yeah. So, any book news for you?
I am still working on Fate Touched. Um, arcs officially got put in the mail. The physical arcs officially got put in the mail today. I'm filming this middle of January, so I promise I didn't wait until February to send them.
Yeah. They are, at this point, with their readers.
Yes. One went to Canada, so that was fun.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see what people think. I hope they like it. And I did another couple chapters on Fate Touch the other day. It's it's getting tense. They're starting to move into that what's going on kind of moment. So I got another chapter of that done. And then I'm rereading my Red Mage one again because I figured out another, well, a more refined method of putting it into the Deathgate world. So I was rereading that again to kind of get that set in my head before I continued on with that story. So I really need to figure out a final plot line for this thing.
Yeah. I mean, that end point is kind of important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already 20 some odd chapters into this first draft, so I really need to get some kind of climax set up.
So is this potentially a standalone, or could it become a trilogy?
I think this one needs to be a standalone because this one is focusing on the person that's staying home, not the person going out and doing the adventures. But she ends up getting caught up in doing the adventure anyway because of circumstances. I just have to figure out what that final thing that he's off doing is. So
Gotcha. Nice.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
What about you?
So,
where are you at?
This week, my brain was not in it. I could not focus for anything. But I am hoping that with this coming weekend, it's a 4-day weekend for my kids and stuff like that. So fingers crossed I can get some writing done. I did actually get one chapter done. So I didn't get nothing done. I got one chapter done on my Casper inspired novel. So there's that. But now I am at a point where I am stuck and I'm like, what happens now? So I may have to send it to you and be like, hey, what do you think?
I'll read it.
I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, maybe something crazy needs to happen. Something needs to happen that is just like throws a monkey wrench in there and it just makes everything go everywhere and they're having to figure it out. What that is, I have no idea yet. Fingers crossed it works out.
Yeah, I'm actually reading. I have an arc I really need to be reading. That's you know what isekai is?
Mm-mm.
It's basically someone dies and is reborn in a different fantasy world, but they still kind of retain all their memories from the previous life. It's a real popular theme
Oh,
in manga and anime.
that's really freaking cool.
Um, my husband is really deep into it. That's the main reason I know about it. But the arc that I'm reading is an isekai, and I it's called Love Me the Same. I don't remember the author's name. I will put it up as long along with the release date of it. Um, but it's the girl is normally a fantasy reader, and her friend talked her into reading this dark romance,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just kind of like about it, and she's skimming it, and then she's kind of tosses it aside. She's like, man, I really wish I could go live in one of my books.
Oh.
And she gets sucked into the dark romance book, and
Oh
she's like,
no!
shit,
Not the one
wrong
we
book.
wanted! Wrong book! Wrong book!
So yeah, it's about her trying to make sure she lives as a side character so she doesn't get sucked up into the main plot of this dark romance book.
You're like, I am gonna be the person sitting in the corner of a coffee shop eating a muffin. That's where I wanna
Yep,
be.
exactly. So I've only gotten to a little ways into it, and then by the way, if I like look like I completely and totally like crash halfway through this episode, I have been running since like 6:30 a.m. and it
That's
is
a lot.
now 8:30 p.m. in my time.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've been up since 6 and I've had to run errands and do things today, and I probably went to like 6 different stores, still had grocery pickups to do, kids to pick up, and oh yeah, I'm right there with you. So we start midway just super crashing low energy. We apologize. We are tired.
Yeah, it's been a day.
Yeah,
So,
I feel that. So,
alrighty,
should we jump into this episode?
we should.
Okay. So, like Leona said, this is like a little mini series on world building. Because this topic can be a massive topic when you are writing your novels. If you are into fantasy or sci fi and you are building a whole new world, it's a little daunting. So, this is kind of a good place to start. And that's figuring out your physical landscape. There we go. The F's were strong. Um, so I think the good place to start would be figuring out the theme of your world. Are you wanting it to be an aquatic world or desert or a dark, gothic, the sun never shines type world? This could really help set the tone for how you're going to lay things out. And I feel like that gives you overall a general theme to work with and where you can start pulling ideas from and get the creative juices flowing, if you will.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times what this is going to be influence is if this is one of the stories where the character came to you first, you kind of have an idea of what this character looks like and okay, maybe not looks, it sounds like because I hear my characters, I don't see them.
Yeah. You
I have
kind
an
of know
idea of
them.
who they are, how they dress, and that I think is kind of a nice starting off point to kind of like go with the theme of this world. Like if you had a mermaid character pop up in your head, you're probably going to want to go with an aquatic world, unless you're going to do a retelling of the Little Mermaid, which is totally legit, but you probably want the water in there somewhere.
That would make sense, yes.
Or if you have an inspiration off the Mad Max world, you're probably going to go apocalyptic.
Yeah. Or, you could have these old ancient forests, or maybe your world is straight mountain ranges, no flat land. You never know. You can make it however you want.
And I think another thing to think about too, and we're going to go a little more into detail later on this, but how much travel your character is going to do, I think is also going to influence you because you might be like the whole world is a desolate mountain range because your character has never left the mountains. And so that is their whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something to think about too. Like maybe they have no reason, even within the story, to ever leave the mountain range. Like everything they're going to be doing is going to be located in this mountain range. So that is something to think about too. Is like if that is the case, I'm spitting. Um, sorry.
Mouths
If
don't
that
work
is the
today either, so it's okay.
right. So that's something to consider too, is how much, and we're going to go into travel a little more in detail later, but like how much is your character going to be like, I have people that can build portals. I fucking world hop throughout this entire book.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of different climates and regions and areas that they go to and they know about because they've traveled this world so extensively, and because that is a possibility, and the way their magic is set up. So but maybe your characters don't have that. Maybe all they know is that desert that they grew up in and they've never heard of anything outside of that desert. So just something to keep in mind as you're creating this physical world.
Yeah. And once you figure out kind of the theme and where you're going, you could probably then decide your climate, right? If you do live, your characters are going to be, in their world of an ancient forest. Maybe it rains sometimes, or maybe there's, like you said, an apocalyptic, maybe they get acid rain. You have to figure out the climate. Is it always dry? Is there a lot of rain? Is it always sunny and hot? Is there these crazy like weather conditions that they're coming up against? Those are all things that you're gonna want to think about, so you know what your characters will be facing when they are in their physical landscapes. So again, if it's acid rain, they're probably not going to be going outside when it starts to rain. you know, um, I wouldn't tempt that. So it's just another obstacle that your characters will have to figure out if they are traveling. Like we said, they may not travel at all. But fantasy, they tend to travel. They're going places, they're doing things. So knowing the environment and just the climate that they're going to have to deal with shapes what they're going to be eating, how much clothing they're wearing, the way they're going to have to survive and travel. So climate will play a huge part, and deciding that will just kind of push the notch on getting that overall physical landscape situated.
And I think something to think about as well is with that kind of how they're adapting to this climate. Like you said, was it poison rain? Um, in I know we're going to talk about this a little later too, but it's kind of a thread through fantasy worlds or not, is if you have magic. Maybe there was a magical event that is causing this area to always be raining, or that 1,000 years ago killed the entire area and nothing grows there ever again. Um, and that can affect climate.
It can.
If you have a whole area that's a suddenly fucking desert, that's gonna probably affect dust storms and the climate and that kind of thing. So, like you said, it affects how much they wear, what kind of protection they're using when they go outside, how much they travel, and magic, depending on how much they utilize that in their everyday, day-to-day usage, can have an influence in that. In the personal space, yes, but also in the larger space, maybe they have weather workers.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about too, depending on if you've already made that decision on how much impact magic is going to have in your world. That's something to kind of correlate with it and have that be a part of the climate, really.
Yeah. Also, what ties into that would also be seasons. is your world gonna have like the traditional four seasons of summer, spring, fall, winter, or are you creating your own? Is it a two half system? Is it summer half the year and winter the other half? Or is it perpetually spring or fall? Because it seems like every time I write a book, it's always fall. I started in
Wonder why.
fall. It's my favorite season. I can't help it. I'm a basic bitch. I love fall. So that's something you have to really think about is what are their elements going to be and how are their seasons working? So again, what are your characters going to be dealing with? If it is like a two thing system or perpetually spring, they're never going to see snow. They're never going to have these really drastic hot summers. So they're just going to be frolicking in the fields all the time and kind of muddy the other half because it's raining. Or their spring may work completely different. I don't know. So those are all things that you got to kind of figure out a little bit. And I mean, this is if you're going full world building mode. You can get a little lazy and just use the traditional system and just not have to explain this, but it is nice, in your mind at least, to know what the heck is going on.
And maybe there's more than four seasons.
Yeah.
I know NK, I've brought her up before. NK,
Jemison.
Is it Jemison? I wanted
I
to
think
say
so.
Jemison, but I wasn't sure. The fifth season. There
Yeah.
is literally 5 seasons in that world because of the volcanic activity in that world. So when the volcanoes start going off, that makes a whole new season.
That's crazy. And scary.
So yeah, that's definitely a part of something you have to think about with the physical landscape. Do you have volcanoes? And where
Yeah.
are they?
Yeah. That is something different landscape features like volcanoes. Are they getting tornadoes? Are they getting hurricanes, monsoons, natural disaster type stuff? That can affect worlds like crazy. So,
I mean, cities on the coast literally have monsoon seasons, so that is their own season.
they do, in fact, they do. Um, the other one would be sun and moon cycles. How long are their days? Are their nights really short and really long days, or really long nights and short days? And in that same topic of, do they have multiple suns, multiple moons? So that could be one of the first real signs that they are not on Earth. If they're seeing two moons in the sky or two suns or however many you decide to put on there, that will be one of your first signs that to your characters, if it's like, me being my books take place in portals, and in one world there's two moons, and they're like, oh, that's new. And I know you're writing one where that's their first signal that they are no longer on Earth. Not a spoiler. It's literally within it's like the first page. They're like, oh shit, we're not on Earth. What is that? So it could be that big signal to your readers that, hey, they're not on Earth. This is going to be a whole new world that you're going to have to learn about. So, yeah.
Also keep in mind, if you have multiple moons, and I have 2 moons in one world, in that case there's 4 moons. If you're on the coast and you're going to stick to traditional science that there will probably be some kind of effect on the tides. So just something to keep, that's just another little detail to think. Maybe it won't. Maybe only one moon's close enough to have the effect on the tides. That is totally up to you. But it's just something to play with if you want to go into that kind of granular detail, depending on where you have the characters. Hello, kitty. Sorry.
Distraction.
Not at all.
But that makes a good point, because you do have multiple moons and multiple tides. Maybe at certain times of the day, the tides are dangerous, and that is a part of the world that's like, at this time, nobody is near the ocean because it is dangerous. It gets crazy. We don't go near it. So that could be something that is an aspect of your fantasy world.
But it's
There was a long
what?
pause there. You're fine.
Oh, sorry. No, my brain was the wheels were
Buffering.
turning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was buffering. Um, Another thing to think about with moon and sun cycles is traditionally we measure time by the moon. If you have more than one moon, which one are you measuring by?
Yeah.
Or are you measuring by it at all? Maybe you just have something that counts the days, or maybe you just go by the seasons and there's not really a sense of more limited time like that. But typically people will find some way to track time.
Yeah.
One in our world, one of the most reliable ways to do that is by the moon. So that is something that people are going to be familiar with. So just something to think about. Like my world specifically, they track the cycles by the largest moon because there is very visibly a larger moon than the other three. So just something to keep in mind if you do have multiple moons, multiple suns, how your time is going to work.
Yeah. The other thing is would be in that same realm is different planets, right? They are in a different world. If you just this could be very, very detailed, and you may not ever use these facts. So it's entirely up to you if you decide to go this far and, you know, plan out planets. If you're not doing sci-fi, probably not going to use the planets, but if you are and you're watching this, you're dealing with solar systems now, friend, and you're going to have to think of different planets and their different landscapes. I couldn't do sci-fi. Could you imagine having to do multiple planets of world building? Bless you. That's a lot. So that is also another one that you could consider is just planets. Are you using our solar system or a galaxy that we know of, or are you creating your own? So
It's yeah, all of that above. I mean, if you're doing sci-fi, you will probably have some kind of interstellar travel at least being talked about and potentially different life forms being brought in, and yeah, it's just something you have to think about. There's lots of fun little anecdotes out on the internet about humans and Earth being space Australia. So if you want some inspiration, that's always fun to go look at.
wait,
Live journal's
what?
crazy. Oh yeah, I'll
What
send you
does
some
that
links
mean?
later.
Yeah, I'm like, what does that even mean? Space
Earth
Australia?
Earth is space Australia.
Oh, because
Aliens don't want to come here because it's
they're just like,
dangerous.
there's too much going on there. Like,
They're like
the creatures will kill you.
they're, they're like your temperatures reach what? And we're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's just a normal summer day.
Wait, you have spiders as big as what?
Yeah,
Everything's trying to eat you?
exactly. Yeah, pretty
Oh my
much.
gosh.
So
Um that's funny. That is so wild.
I'll find some links and send it to you. It's pretty funny to find those.
I think me and my husband will enjoy reading those because he loves space stuff. So um now that you have figured out the theme of your world and your climate, now you get to pick regions. So laying out where things are. And again, you could have a region that is completely desert or all old growth forests, or, you know, you could start playing around with, okay, well, here's this, here's that. Or, I mean, it could all just be one if you really wanted to keep it simple. But this is where you get to have fun and creating those different landscapes that your characters may be traveling through. And each spot, they're going to have to deal with different challenges and different climates. And that is something they have to deal with. I know that comes up in Fire Magic. You know, they go from being in like grasslands to next thing you know, they're having to be up in snowy mountains.
Yep.
They gotta
Carrie was
figure
not,
that out. Poor Carrie.
Carrie is not particularly happy about that.
He is not. He's like, I don't like this. Not one bit. It's too cold. Take me back.
Especially since he got kicked off the horse and
Into the
landed
snow.
in the snow.
He was just like, this sucks.
Pretty much, yeah. And speaking of that, magic again. You're gonna want to think about that, because if maybe one region is really open to magic, like the Red Mage story that I'm writing right now, literally they transplant her because she is in an area that is so culturally prejudiced. And I know that's not the physical landscape, but it's just something to think about. Maybe there's a reason magic is more accepted somewhere versus another place.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a physical feature of the landscape, or maybe I know in the 5th season, mages help settle the seismic activity from the volcanoes.
Yeah.
Brenna freaking summons a volcano out of the dead land. So
they wouldn't like her very much.
No.
They're
She's
like, why?
The opposite.
Yeah.
So it's just something to think about, how different physical features of different regions can affect your culture, which we will go into in a further deep dive on another episode. But I just wanted to kind of bring that up now so you kind of have your wheels turning on that aspect.
Yeah. Also, we have touched on this before. Making your geography make sense, right? You know, if your world is all desert, right? And then I think we used this example before. If you have a desert world and then all of a sudden it's just like, boom, forest, and there's like no transition, it's just like right next to each other. You're like, how the hell does that work? It just stops raining right at that line. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's trees, no trees. Unless there is like a legitimate reason in your lore for that. Your landscape should make sense for the most part on why the area is the way that it is, in terms of just, you know, if it's all night, why is it all night? If another area gets a day cycle where the other one doesn't. So you just have to take all the little pieces and make sure that the puzzle is connecting. My brain's really struggling.
No, it's fine. I feel like I'm just going to harp on it again, but magic or technology, the artificial influences of people can change landscapes. That is a proven fact. One example I can think of that I've listened to recently, I'm currently watching Critical Role's second campaign with the Mighty Nine. Matt Mercer made up a city that is filled with dark elves who are very sensitive to the sun and daylight. So they magically put up a barrier so it is always nighttime in their city. That has to have some effect on the plant life there and how they deal with it. So something to think about. Or if you're writing sci-fi, maybe some way of constructing something did something to the landscape. WALL-E. Think WALL-E.
Yeah. That's
what
a big
they did
one.
to the planet with what they did. Yeah. So keep in mind that people will influence their physical landscape. So I'm not saying you have to make the culture and the physical geography side by side, but don't let yourself get so fixated on something that you can't adjust it later if you need to.
Yeah. And speaking of, you know, how they will interact with their world, how are they traveling? That will be a huge thing in how you shape your world. Are they just riding horses and they can pretty much go wherever? Or are they driving cars? So you have to have roads planned out and highway systems. Damn, I mean, you could be on magic carpets like Aladdin and they're just whizzing through the air. So how are they traveling is going to determine a lot of how your landscape is set up. You know, maybe they're on trains and you have mountain ranges everywhere. I can only imagine how fun that would be to travel.
Mhm.
I wouldn't like it. Or if it is an underwater world, are they having like tube systems? Like, I think there's like one from the UK to like mainland France or something, where it's like an underground, underwater like train system. So you got to think about that and how your characters are going to be interacting with traveling. If they're walking, well, poor guys, poor people.
Maybe they have portals and they're world hopping.
Or that too. That is mine. They world hop, and it's just simple that way. But that is another thing you have to decide on when building your physical landscape. Is how they're getting around.
Yeah, 100% that. I have
Yeah.
no notes.
Yeah, it's just, you got to think of those specific features and how they're going to move through it. So, which that would bring us to our witchy tip. Oh, nope, there was one that I missed.
Oh, right.
Are there ways that people can't get around? So, are there like specific landscape features that stop people from traveling a certain way? Maybe those mountain ranges and trains don't work. So you are like, okay, well, you can't travel the mountain ranges. That's impossible. So that's maybe a defining feature of your world, that people just don't travel in the mountains because it's hard to get up there, or they don't have a form of transportation that would allow them to. And again, like you said, magic can play a huge role in this. So maybe you can only get to a place through using magic or portals or some type of teleportation. So that's another thing, is how are there places that they can't get to because of physical landscape situations?
And also with magic, maybe there's a limit on it. Maybe there's not a way to get somewhere with magic because of some limit on it. So when you're thinking of maybe it's a dead space for magic, maybe that's why they can't travel over it. There's some natural feature in this physical world that magic will not work. So you either walk or you find another method of transportation. And if you use a lot of magic, or you're used to mages that use portals to get around, they're going to have to find another way. So that's something to think about. How can you inhibit magic with your physical landscape?
Yeah.
Because that's fun.
Maybe a donkey.
Get him a donkey.
Get him a donkey. They're great at traveling.
Harry should have just had a donkey. He would have been happier.
Probably. Which now it's the witchy tip.
Now it's the witchy tip.
And I figured it was very fitting, since we are talking about physical landscapes, that we would talk about uses of dirt in magic. I do have notes, so I will be kind of like looking off to the side and reading. So there's roughly 4 dirts you can use. There is graveyard dirt. This is traditionally used in divination, cursing, love, and protection spells. I will say, if you decide to use graveyard dirt, get it from somewhere you trust, from a grave or, just be careful when you're getting graveyard dirt. You don't want to get it from, a serial killer or something crazy like that. I don't know how that would affect your magic. it might be, you might get a little skewy results there. So also, it's always good to leave an offering and ask permission before you take any dirt from a grave. It is probably better if you use ancestors, or again, someone it could be maybe a friend, or you know what I'm saying. It's better to just take the dirt from someone to be on the safe side. You never know who you're gonna get if you're not careful.
And maybe that's one kind of offering is spill the tea to the friend before you collect the dirt.
There you go. That could be an offering. You're like, girl, let me tell you all of the shit. You know what I'm saying? That could be an offering. Not all offerings are physical. Sometimes it could be spilling the literal tea, you know? Another one would be churchyard dirt. This would be used for healing, prosperity, purification, protection, mending relationship, and justice workings. This one I feel like it could be kind of iffy for witches if you don't want anything to do with the church. Fair enough. Do it you. But some people that are Christians can be witches, so they may use that and it could come in handy. Then there is crossroad dirt. Used for journeying. Oh, Lord. The words are hard today, guys.
Halfway through the episode, it's happening.
It's happening. It's a steady decline, and we are going fast. Using for journeying to the underworld, as it helps open the gates to other realms. So this is often used with offerings for deities that are linked to crossroads. This is also used for opening up opportunities and helping find direction because you are at a literal crossroads. So this could be used for Hecate, Hermes, Papa Legba. That's hoodoo. Be careful. Not every deity is meant to be worked. Yeah, that's close practice. Don't use it if you aren't in it. You know what I mean? Because some people have regretted working with him and they weren't of the culture. So then there's backyard dirt, typically used for purification, protection, and peace. These are also good for home workings. Typically you collect it from each corner of your land if you want to. And that is just to kind of help bring in that prosperity and that earth, that solid earth, you know, into the home, which is oftentimes prosperity, abundance, protection. So those are your 4 dirts that you can use to go along with our physical landscapes we're discussing.
I mean, they have their uses, obviously. Otherwise, people wouldn't be talking about them.
Yeah. People use dirt in their workings all the time. I tend to just stick with herbs and spices and salt.
Yeah, no. Well, you're a kitchen witch, too, so.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I can see more of the green earth witches really having that as more of a cornerstone of the practice. Like,
yeah,
my cornerstone is water.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we beat that horse.
Yeah. And now back to our regularly scheduled content. No, I'm just kidding. The next one would be starting now that you've got your physical landscape. Now you can start talking about your plants and the things that are going to be growing. Are you going to be using similar plants that we have here on Earth, or are you making up your own? That'll be a good place to start and figure out what you're going to do. Just to kind of fill out your world now. It's like now you got your base level. Now you're just adding the layers to your diorama, if you will. You're gluing on the moss and stuff now. That's where my brain instantly went. It was like, we're building a diorama. We're in 3rd grade again. Yeah. Oh gosh.
And or do a mix of it. I know in Robert Jordan's The Great Hunt right now, I'm noticing that because he has a plant called a leather leaf, but he also has it sitting right next to oak trees. So,
yeah.
You know, maybe you just throw some in there for some spice.
Yeah.
Like you just feel like we're throwing in this. Or here's another fun one. Maybe it's a familiar plant to you, but you give it a different name. maybe you call a maple a star leaf.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
Have fun
that's
with it.
true. That is very true. Because even in our world, similar plants can go by different names depending on the region. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, cilantro in the US is, oh, what is it? Coriander in the UK. But it's the same thing. We're talking about the same plant. So that also makes sense. And doing a mix sometimes can kind of help ground your world building so that your readers do have something familiar to go off of, right? In the Secret Society series, she goes into a like little apothecary room, and there are things that are fairly normal. There's lavender, there's rosemary, there's all these things. But then, they have other herbs that she's like, I have no idea what the heck this is. I'm not going to touch it. So there is that, because the plants there are completely poisonous to humans. So she's like, I'm just going to leave that alone. That's in a jar. So
One of the few wise decisions that Amy makes.
it is. She's just like, I don't know what this is. I might, and they, of course, did not label anything. So she was able to point out the very, very obvious ones of, yeah, that's lavender. That looks like rosemary. These are normal herbs. I don't know what the hell the rest of these are, though. So that is a good way to help ground it, though. So your readers do have something a little familiar to hold on to. So it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, no, for sure. The
Um,
plants.
yeah, plants. In that same note, then, we've done the flora, now the fauna. You're talking about the animals. You could go as far as like Harry Potter, where they create like a whole freaking compendium of wild beasts, right? These monsters and little whatever. Like, you could go nuts. Or it can be our world or a mix. Again, you get to be creative and kind of go outside the box and decide how far you're going to take it in creating your world through these elements.
And they just keep in mind two things. They need to make sense and they need to fit into their environment. And if you're going totally off the hook and creating something totally new, I'm going to use Anne McCaffrey's Pern books as an example here. The dragons in Pern are six limbed because they have 4 legs and 2 wings.
Mm-hmm.
So technically they're 6 limbed. So she has other animals that also have 6 limbs because they all were evolving from the same critter and went to different paths. So she was using that natural evolution. So that's why it made sense that,
Yeah.
yes, these dragons had 6 limbs, the 4 legs and 2 wings. And this other animal also had 6 limbs that maybe evolved into 6 legs. So if you feel like going into that kind of nitty gritty with the biology, people do appreciate it. I'm not saying they don't. They may not always notice it, but they do appreciate it when it makes sense. And you can see that happening and understanding it. And it's actually something I've thought about with my world. My magical critters evolved from elemental spirits. So I was able to just kind of go, magic!
Magic is the answer for everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, you know what? When in doubt, magic is the solution.
Magic or science depends on the genre.
Yes, depending on the genre, it's one of the two. But also another thing is, if you're going to go the route also of having things make sense, you're probably not going to have, like snakes in the mountains unless they have evolved from something, explainable, or, things that don't have fur living in cold areas, or things that do have fur living in extremely hot desert climates that would kind of kill them because they'd overheat and die. Or do they have this super ability to keep cold, or how they live in the area? Like, for example, there are foxes that do live in the desert, but their coats are different than, say, a red fox or a snowy fox. So there's those branches, like you said, where evolutionary differences make them different. So keep that in mind too, make it kind of make sense, but also magic.
When in doubt.
When in doubt, magic it out. No, just kidding.
That's the next tagline for this show.
When in doubt, magic it out.
I need merch with that.
Yes, we should just start merch, honestly.
We should.
Even if it is just for us to wear on the podcast. And this kind of goes along with some of the other stuff we had mentioned. Creating lore for certain areas of your world. So, is there a really ancient tree that for whatever reason has survived millennia and now there's lore around it? Maybe it's, I don't know, it has magic, or it's, something. I don't know. The brain is slowly shutting down.
How about, okay, we'll just go into the one example that I've already talked about. The Deadlands and the Deathgate trilogy.
There you go.
This is a large area in the world where a portal to the Death Plane was opened 100 years ago. And since that time, nothing is physically able to grow there. So it is just a cracked red desert with no water at all. So that's kind of the lore for that area. As you go into it, you make sure you take water because there ain't none to be found.
You will be thirsty.
Everyone, and not in a good way.
Yeah, everyone will be thirsty. Yeah. It took me a minute to get what you meant.
First laugh at me.
You're like, and not in a good way. I was like, wait, there's a good way to be thirsty?
I mean, you're the one that
technically.
writes it.
I know. It took me a minute. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So like, for example, in my book, there is an island, right? And it is basically has like ghoul-like creatures on it. And it is because of a statue and a place of ritual. And if someone does something there and they're not of the right person or bloodline, you get turned into a ghoul. That's fun. So people just don't like to go there anymore.
It's fun.
That's fun. It isn't, but So there's reasons for why the area and the landscape is the way that it is. And with that came monsters. So fun.
When in doubt,
magic it out. Yeah. Okay. So again, are the waters poisonous for whatever reason? Maybe there was, when I was reading the Necromancer's Bride, they talked about how the magic that came down from the necromancer was making people sick, and it came down in the water and the soil, and it got into their food because it was the water and the soil that were getting poisoned by his magic. So, and people were getting sick. Like, those are aspects that contribute to basically the lore of the place. And it all has to do with physical attributes. So, yeah. Creating lore is always fun.
It is always fun.
Yeah.
And it's surprising until you actually think about it, how much it does interweave with that physical landscape. And how much it affects it.
Mm-hmm. And then, that also will affect how your characters deal with certain things. Like, they had ghouls chasing them in my book. And they had to freaking get there safely with things trying to eat their ass. Quite literally. Not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Yeah.
In a more mundane way, my elementalist will always check water sources with their magic to see if it's safe to drink. Yep. So that's something to think about too when you're talking about water and poison and not being safe to drink.
Yeah. There you go. So, the lore of your world and specific aspects can definitely influence the story overall. And plus, it kind of gives more, it kind of helps round out the world a little more if you have these, landmarks. I mean, we have them in our world. I mean, hello, the pyramids are talk of everyone and how it could be aliens. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's true, but there are definitely conspiracies about it that aliens. So
Crop circles, man.
crop circles, it's funny because that was my next thought was crop circles. And that's lore of our world. It is like it's or there was
Absolutely.
like what is it? The one in Arizona. It's like this big like it's called like Devil's Peak or something, and it looks like basically a giant tree stump, but there's scratches down it. So they were like, yeah, it was a massive bear that tore it down. I was like,
Nice.
okay, sure.
Why not?
Okay. If that's what you want to believe, that's fine. So yeah, even our world has its lore. So, and it's all based on landscape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure your town even has lore about a certain bridge or a building or some type of waterway. It's there everywhere. So it's something to think about when you're creating your world. Make it fun. Make it some crazy shit. Just because you can.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're in a fantasy or a sci-fi world, the limits are only in your head.
Yep.
Whatever artificial limits you impose on yourself or your world, that's the only limit.
Yeah.
Now, that said, try and make it readable for the rest of us.
Yeah. I mean, give it a smidgen of sense. Yeah. Just give it a smidgen of sense, Just give us that one little crumb so we can believe it with you.
Exactly.
So, that would bring us to the end of our episode and into book reviews. I did not get to finish a book, but I will say I am reading Lights Out. Nick, my husband, has been wanting me to read it. And he's like, why haven't you read it? Why haven't you read it? I see it everywhere. You should read it. So I'm reading it. I'm about 30% of the way in. So.
I mean, to be fair, there's a reason we tend to stay away from popular books.
I know. So far, it has not been bad. Wild. Yes. A little crazy. A little insane. But it does make sense so far. So it's not out of the realm of believability for me. But we'll see. So far, it's not bad. So
that's a good beginning.
Yes. So do you have a book review this week?
I mean, yes.
Of course. Of course you do, because you read like a mile a minute. So
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I read this week A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson. It's just kind of a cool cover. I like it. It's very simplistic, but I like it.
Shiny.
And it's very shiny. Anyway. So A Language of Dragons is set in an alternate history England where dragons exist, and this happens roughly to the equivalent after World War One, but with dragons that do exist and live side by side with people in the world. Like they're teachers, they're artists, they're
so they're like
they're integrated in society.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely integrated. Their
cool.
hordes are taxed.
Oh, that stinks. Boo! No taxes.
Right? So okay. But this is kind of, if you find out, a dystopian world, because they're in England specifically, there is a class system. And you have to pass a certain examination at a certain age in order to either stay in the class you're in or you drop down to the lower class. And it's first, second, and third class. And third is the downtrodden people that can't get out of it, of poverty, basically.
Okay.
So the main character, Viv, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if it's Viv or Vivian, I don't remember. It's been a minute. Um, is the main character in this book, and she is a Draco linguist. They actually have a specific word for it, but she knows like 6 to 7 different dragon languages.
Oh, sick.
I know it is pretty sick. Um, and she is trying to get into university when everything goes wrong and her family is arrested. Her parents, specifically, and her cousin and her uncle are all arrested because they are traitors to the crown.
Oh, shit.
And she has the bright idea that if she can destroy the evidence the government has on her parents, they can't hold them anymore.
Ooh. Schemy. I like it.
So she goes to the university library and meets up with a dragon there who has committed a crime. They are a criminal, and they are confined to the library by a bomb that is surgically implanted into between their wings.
Oh my god.
And she says, if I free you from this bomb, because it's on the top of the skin that's just like sewn into
Yeah.
their skin.
Okay.
If I free you from this bomb, you have to go burn down this building.
Fair.
Yeah. The
I
dragon's
feel like
like,
that's fair.
I can do that.
I can do that.
Well, she gets caught. Not the dragon,
Oh.
the girl gets caught and gets sent to a school. Not it's not a school. It's they are basically trying to contribute to the war effort because thanks to the dragon burning down the building, this undercurrent of the rebellion has gone into full out war
Oh.
with the rebellion going all out. And I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to give away any more of the book. I kind of already gave away a lot, but you kind of it can be a lot to get through that first part. And I think it's also for me, I like yours is one of the few books that I don't have a problem with the first person perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Normally I do struggle with first person perspective. That's why I don't write it. And this is first person perspective. And this is YA. So this is a girl just getting into university, which is a very different age
Yeah.
perspective than I am.
Yeah.
So I struggled a little bit, but I got through. I got to her being at the school where they're contributing to the war effort and all the people that she met there, and specifically Atlas was great. I loved Atlas. Um, it was a lot of fun. Like I admit I struggled a little bit in the first third of the book to get past this point. And a lot of it I think was because of her such vehement denial.
Mm-hmm.
Like she really, really was trying to believe in this class system and that it was the best for everybody and there was a reason it was in place, and
Yeah.
very brainwashed kind of character. So
Yeah.
it was really difficult to but if you can get through that part, um she has a really good character arc
Okay.
and there is tragic romance.
See, that's where you get me, and I'm like, oh man, I want to read it. So yeah, this will probably end up on my TBR. It will.
Success. So yeah, I gave it a 5 star. I thought it was definitely worth reading. It's staying in my library, so that tells you what I thought of it. Um, Very rarely does a book leave my library, to be fair.
You are a collector as
If
well as
you-
a reader.
You know, if a book is not staying in my library,
It is not.
I
good.
had a poor opinion of it.
That's when you really know trash. No, I'm just kidding.
Boom. Oh no, I go and I sell it because you can still get money for it at half price books or get store
Oh, yeah.
credit.
Oh yeah. Um yeah. I that sounds really good though.
It was really good.
I find it funny because you struggle with first person and I struggle with third person.
But we can read each other's books.
We can.
That tells us
I don't
something.
get it, but I can read yours like it's no problem. But if I pick up someone else's book and I start reading it and it's third person, it's like I really struggle to get into it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's their overall writing style, but like third person is really hard for me to read and get into. So more so I would have to like listen to it. It's easier for me to listen to third person than read it. Except with yours for whatever reason. Yours must be magic.
Magic it out, man.
Magic it out. When in doubt, it is magic.
Alrighty.
So,
That was my book review.
nice. That brings us to the end of our episode. The preview for next episode, we are going to be talking about maps. So, transplanting all this physical world building and putting it out on a map. But that is what you could look forward to next week. You can find us at writingwithwitches.com. You can email us at writingwithwitches@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube, as well as our Discord server, all as Writing with Witches. You can find me at all the aforementioned places as author Nicole Autumn, and my website and newsletter and all that good jazz will be linked down below in my link tree. On to you, Leona.
You are mainly going to find me as Leona Urbanski author at my website, leonaurbanskiauthor.com, or my Substack, leonaurbanskiauthor.substacks.com, or you're going to find me on Facebook or Instagram. And maybe in stores soon, too. I hope. I'm going to try.
That's the plan.
That is the plan. We'll see if it
Yeah.
happens.
Well,
So.
thank you all for listening and or watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.